Welcome to the Fellas Podcast, the ultimate Formula One podcast for fans by fans, where we discuss all the happenings in the world of Formula One. Now, let's get into it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Fellas Podcast. What an epic weekend of racing and drama at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're going to talk about Max's fourth championship, Max's comments about winning earlier with Ferrari and McLaren, Russell's win, Lewis's comeback from 10th, Toto's Wolff's comments on Lewis's shelf life, and also the announcement from Formula One today about GM being a part of the grid lineup in 2026. But please, before we get into it, like, subscribe, and share.
Buckle up, race fans. It's time to experience the Formula One Miami Grand Prix like never before. Feel the rush with a chance to win exclusive 2-day race passes for the 2025 Formula One Miami Grand Prix. Immerse yourself in the high-octane thrill as the world's fastest cars zoom by on May 3rd and 4th. But that's not all. Relax and rejuvenate with a 3-night stay at the luxurious 4-star Serena Hotel from May 2nd to May 5th. Enjoy panoramic views, plush furnishings, state-of-the-art amenities, and daily breakfast for two. Your entry supports Viva, a non-profit dedicated to fostering young racing talent, including 14-year-old prodigy Truly Adams, who's racing towards a future in Formula One. Don't miss your chance to experience the thrill of a lifetime and support the future of motorsport. Enter the Formula One Miami Grand Prix sweepstakes today. Fuel your passion. Support the future. Sweepstakes end on December 17th, 2024, so hurry before it's too late.
Hey guys, what did you guys think about the race this weekend?
I thought it was interesting. It's all right.
Yeah, same here. Honestly, to me, I mean, with the exception of that Max won his fourth title, Lewis's charge up from 10th, and the little bit of the stuff that happened with Ferrari, it was okay, but it was a good race because of those things.
I thought it was a good race. Congratulations to Max for winning his fourth championship, or should I say 3.5?
No, he's a fourth time.
But yeah, definitely congratulations to him. It was well deserved. It was interesting to hear his comments on winning the championship earlier if he was racing a Ferrari and McLaren. Definitely know that was a dig at Zach Brown's comments last year about him only winning in the Red Bull. But it'd be interesting to hear your comments on that.
I say, yeah, it's good that Max sent that shot back at Zach. Shows that he's paying attention to what's being said. They said similar things about Lewis when he was winning. Oh, he's just winning because he has the best car, but he also has talent. Max is a very good driver. I've always said it. I don't have any Red Bull memorabilia. I'm not, let's say, a active fan of Max, but I respect his craft. He's good. He's good. He's a world champion. You knew he was a world champion before he actually won his first one.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that he kind of slapped Zach for that comment.
Ray?
Well, no. Well,
your favorite driver, right? This is your favorite driver.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He has memorabilia.
I can't. I forgot to go get it. But talent is talent, right? Even though sometimes the package may be questionable, I think this year is the first year that they got something relatively close, right, in competition, right? And it kind of had him have to reach deep to bring out some of his skills. So that was, after seeing that, yes, he has talent. He has talent, right? It would be nicer if the other teams would have gotten their act together better to even see how deep he could go as far as with his talent. But no, he's a good driver.
Well, I'll say this: McLaren, in my opinion, is the reason why it ended here, because they had backed Lando and really got in behind him, he would have won. What, I think 2-3 other races that would have meant that it would have still went down to the wire. You know? So to me, it shows in Formula One some of that ruthlessness that sometimes when you're on the receiving end, you don't like. But if you're benefiting, you could see the reasons for it. Is that, it's almost like nice guys finish last in a sense, right? That's what it is. That if you're really focused on that point and you're galvanizing both your drivers to that point, this would have went down to the last race.
Right.
Nothing against Max winning it. He deserves it. But I'm just saying, to me, it highlights that point as well, where you're like, wow, okay. So when you're nice and switch and give it back, and you're gonna need him later on, where did that get paid back?
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, before you go, Simon, just to put this out there. Given that he has won his championship this go around, do you think the racing from here out is going to be more competitive?
I believe so.
I think it's going to be the same, because you know what? They want to win. The only reason, that's why his race engineer came over to say, Max, remember, don't get into that. And he goes, yeah, I know. I'm running my own race. Right? Yes, he's a 3-time world champion. So he knows what's at stake. Let these guys go by. I just need to finish ahead of Lando and I win.
Right.
But now that that's cleared up, if he could win the last 2, he's going for it.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, your question was really around whether or not next year is going to be a really competitive season based on what you've seen in Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes and Ferrari. No?
Well, no, I am hoping for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying now that, that championship burden is set aside now. So really the only thing that's left is constructors, right? You're racing for constructors. So I'm just thinking that, in some ways it would lead to more aggressive racing, in a sense, right? Because now you're just going for wins. You're not worrying about that. Well, for him, he's not worrying about being a champion. He's a champion already. So he's just racing for pride now, right? To see whose nose you can dirty, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I think it might be a more interesting, rest of the season.
Yeah. Individually, he's won his money and won his status as far as being a championship. Right. Now it's for the team to win their money, and I think they're third right now in the constructors.
Red Bull's not winning it.
No, they're not going to win it. But if they can get to third or second. Right. They win more money, right? So right now it's team money that they're trying to, and Sergio's kind of messed that up for him.
And now that you say that, that's what I while I was watching the race, I was saying that, I was like, wow, I'll be surprised if Sergio is there next year.
Can I hit on a question of something that you said about nice guys finishing last?
Yeah.
Do you think, if you go back 30 years ago, the society was different? You could be a little bit more ruthless. You can say things on the air that you can't say now. Everyone's a little, PC now. Do you believe because of that, the individual saying, no, I'm not putting the team first when it comes to me getting points is over, right? I think old school mentality would be like, some of the old school winners would say, no, I'm winning this race. I don't care about my teammate. I'm going to go for it. But do you believe now the society that we have created that now it's less aggressive when it comes to individuality, but more PC and more team oriented?
Maybe. I think it's McLaren. The McLaren team that's there now is not the team from, obviously the 90s or the early 2000s, where they knew what it was to win a championship, So maybe there's some of that. I would be surprised if next year, if they're competitive, if they don't implement a rule to say, okay, halfway, you're free to race. Halfway up in the season, whoever is ahead, if you have a chance at winning the championship and you're in the battle, we're backing you, right? Then we need the other driver to help support that driver through. Up until then, you guys can race to figure that out. And if you guys are tied, then we're going to carry it forward, like to the next race until you have a clear someone is ahead. I would be surprised if they don't adopt something like that, because if you don't, it's going to lead to more of what we saw here, where if you really look at it, it was their championship to lose. Well, they lost it in a sense. Not to say they might have beaten Max, but it would have gone further down. Instead of looking at it and saying, yeah, we threw away these points over these 3 races. So, but to answer, Yeah, I don't know if it's per se that, but I think they're green to this, and they never experienced that. They were still on the build up to rebuild the brand, the team. So now they see like we have to do something. I'll be surprised if next year, let's say at Ferrari, they're green too. They're messing up.
I think that's just how it is now, though, man. I think it's not like the 90s and 80s anymore where, there's a lot more individuality going on within the team. There, you're like, well, he's going to do his own thing regardless of what we tell him to do.
Right. It's kind of like Red Bull with Multi 21 with Mark Webber and Sebastian, right? Mark was supposed to finish ahead of Sebastian, right? Number 2 car is in the lead, finish in that order. Sebastian didn't like that. Turned up his engine and came and attacked Mark and took it.
Yeah.
Right. And it caused problems in the team. But Sebastian's a world champion and Mark's not. I don't know what else went on in the team, So there it is. Nice guys. Finish last.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what happens next year for sure. Ray, what did you think about Russell's win? Deserved?
Yeah, I think so. He wanted to make sure he stamps out Lewis, because I saw the underhanded comments in there. Oh, we won. And then, I took it as underhanded. And good job for us and also for Lewis. He finished in the points and all this other stuff. But Russell wants to stamp out Lewis to show that he is the man, right? He's trying to secure his future. So, I have no problems with that. He did a good drive, because he's the guy that's been on the edge. He's crashed multiple times because he's riding the edge so close. So he put the work in. What can I say? It was just good to see. It was good to see Lewis, still pop in and see somewhat of the old Lewis in a way, right? So it was, it's okay. I'll stay on topic. Russell, no problem. He did a good drive.
Yeah,
he was sweating there a little bit though at the end, right? When he was Lewis was starting to eat into his stuff, but it seemed like he was just managing the pace at that end, right? So he was just backing off, and when he realized and he got the call that he's hot on your trail, then he just turned it up again. So which is smart racing, right? Because you're trying to save your tires for when you need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what I thought. George, I think George did a great drive. Well-deserved win.
Yeah.
And listen, those since I've been watching F1, there's teammates and other drivers from they throw their little digs at each other. That's what they do, because Lewis was trying to run him down, and then they told George, hey, turn it up. And what was impressive is that he did.
Yeah.
I think it was down to like 4 seconds. Lewis was got it down, and then when he got the call to turn it up, he brought it back up to 6. So he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
That was lost for Lewis in the qualifying.
Yeah.
Good
point. Yeah, Lewis lost that opportunity to win that race when he didn't qualify properly.
Right.
And he knows it. He knows it. And, the back kicked out on him a little bit during qualifications, and then he had to go again. But, he had a strong car to go from 10th to 2nd. I mean, he was the only car on the grid that made that jump. Jump 8 places.
That car was switched on. I said that car was switched on.
Absolutely. And, Russell is 9 points ahead of him right now. So I know he's going to try and get ahead of him in the next 2 races if he can.
He would try. But that car is also temperamental, so we don't know what we're going to see next race. Right. It might be in the back of the field again or in the midfield, not struggling. Where McLaren was in this race, you didn't even see that.
Right?
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, just before you touch on McLaren, though, sorry, I just wanted to say on top of this is just to piggyback on this is that the commentators were saying that the temperature being so low switched on the Mercedes car, and that I found a bit interesting, right? So that who thought a car would be so race car would be temperature sensitive? That's for it to be performing, because multiple times they commented on how it being a cooler race would and it did allow the car to come alive.
Yeah, I'll be curious to look into that, because I would like to know more. Like what do they mean? I mean, I'm thinking, does it mean that it was able to get the most out of the tires because of that? But it's something I'm going to look into.
Yeah, because as I was saying before, it's just thinking about air density, right? The cooler the air is, the more dense it is, and the hotter it is, the less dense it is. To see if the car is that aerosensitive, what really caused it. So, that's of interest.
Well, I did hear other drivers saying that it was very slippery. They weren't able to get the tires to dig in to the tarmac, because when they're finished with F1, they open back up the roads, and then you have regular cars driving on it. It's not a closed course. So I took it as maybe the Mercedes was just, for what you said, maybe it was just able to maximize those tires under that setting, meaning temperature and so on. Because for Lewis to charge up the field, it definitely looked like Lewis of old. And the car was working good. Like I said, it was switched on.
It was probably Lewis of old because of what Toto Wolff said about his shelf life, and
that's true too.
They were going to probably not renew Lewis's contract eventually anyway. So him going to Ferraris was not a big deal as it could have been. And I think that kind of lit a fire under anyone, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, say this. I remember when Lewis went from McLaren to Mercedes, and the late Sir Sterling Moss, they interviewed him and they asked him, where do you think he's going to be when he goes to Mercedes? And Sterling Moss said he's going to be nowhere. Right? And Lewis went on to win championships. He ate those words. Right? So here's my opinion as a Lewis fan. Whether Toto tried to clean it up and out of context, in the political speak, misquoted, whatever, I hope Lewis makes him eat those words. Fernando is 43, and I guarantee you that if he had a car that was good, he would be tearing up into Max as well. And he's 43. Lewis isn't over the hill. He's not close yet. He still has years. So I think that was a disrespect. So I'm hoping that Lewis has a good time at Ferrari, and all you got to do is a smile and look and be like, eat those words. So
you think he's comparing him to George and what's the new guy that they're going to bring on next year?
Oh, I forgot his name. Damn.
Colapinto? Is it Colapinto?
No. It'll come back to me. I know who you're talking about. I should remember his name. He's new. He hasn't been on there.
So let me ask a question, but not to interrupt. But so is Lewis out of the car? Because in one of the comments, he made it seem like he might not be driving a car for the next 2 races. That the new guy is going to step in. Is that the case? Did you guys?
Ooh, I didn't hear that.
No. So what I heard,
that's a comment.
Yes. So what I heard was because of what happened 2 weeks ago, Lewis made a statement that he wasn't. What happened in Mexico? Lewis made a statement that he wasn't going to race anymore. He wanted to not race anymore for Mercedes. He was done. They talked him back into the car and talked him back into finishing the season. But he was just so frustrated with the car performing well in qualifying, performing well in practice. I mean, performing well in practice, not performing well in qualifying, and being so during the race that he said he's just done. That's what I heard, and that's what's been recorded. Okay. I don't think he's made any comments on that. He hasn't really talked about that. So whether that was hearsay or not, I can't tell you.
Right. Gotcha. Well, it's a shame. It's a shame in a way. It seems the partnership is tainted, right? And it's a shame. They've won so many championships together, right? He was the guy. And here at the end, it's, it's like I always say, I don't really know of any good breakups. So I guess it's par for the course. You're just gonna, it's bad. It's bad blood. Some blood is spilled, put it that way. But my hope is that he can do what he did when he left McLaren and went to Mercedes, because everyone was saying, what a big mistake. The media, or everything big mistake. He's throwing away his career, and he went there, and Mercedes went this way, and McLaren went that way. And then everybody jumped up. Oh, he made the right move. I know, but you were just cursing him a couple weeks ago,
Yeah,
or a
even
couple
Monday-
months ago. Like, hey. But anyway,
Monday Morning Football quarterback.
you're right.
Well, I'll say this. Based upon the performance of the team he's going to, where your driver had to say, wake up to the people on the pit thing, it makes me it gives me some concern. They need to get their stuff ready, because you call a guy and you're not ready for pitting. It's just like, dude, you're not watching a race?
Yeah.
He said, wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, he was right. Carlos was right.
Yeah. So hopefully they get their act together when he shows up, so that, they have a capable vehicle to do the thing. Is just that their surrounding support, fluctuates from time to time.
Right.
So
well, here's the other thing with that, and we've discussed it in the past, is that he's going into a team with a car that's already made. How can hopefully they can get it suited to his style, or he can acclimate himself to the car.
Right.
To so you don't now you're at Ferrari and you're at the back, and your team, you're Sergio at Ferrari now, and Charles is Max way up in the front. You don't want that.
True.
You don't want that.
True.
You don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah, we'll see. Tommy's going to tell. That's why I said next season. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll wait and see.
It should be very competitive next season, I think. I really think McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull are really going to put on a show. I think the first 3 races are going to be spectacular, but who knows where the things have happened.
One thing before you move with that, where I would say it's a little different. I'm concerned for Carlos going to Williams.
Getting lost in the mix?
Yeah, because Williams is still building themselves back up. They're still building themselves back up, and he's a very talented driver. Carlos is really, really good. I'm surprised that that's the best he could get. Nothing against Williams at all, but I'm just saying he's very talented. So I'm wondering if he's just going to get lost in the midfield.
With all the other good drivers.
So you raise a good point, which I've always wanted to know more about the Constructors Championship and the money that is received, right? And the differences between 6th, 7th, 5th, 4th, all the way up to 1 is enormous, right? So if you have an extra $50 million to play with, is that hiring the right individual? Is that giving you a better engineering team, better engineering parts? Is that if Williams was to get an extra $50 million rather than what they received last year, now does that make them more competitive? Right? How is it?
It's how you allocate it based on what you need. So you may. It's like Red Bull. When Red Bull came in, they weren't as strong as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
They had to build the infrastructure. So they needed the wind tunnel. They needed the race engineers. They needed all of that. So it would be the same thing. You're going to allocate money to try to build that infrastructure. Like you could say, okay, we have the aerodynamicist part of it down. Okay, good. So we'll keep that locked. And now we're going to move into this section here. And then on top of that, you need the engine that you're getting to be good, and how that integrates with the chassis. So it takes time. And that's what I'm saying. It takes time, but you have to be allocating the money wisely, so you're not wasting it. Because what was the team?
And the investors make some of that money back too, right? If they win Constructors, whoever invested that there want their money back, I'm assuming.
Well, you're going to get it through advertisement, because if your team's winning and you're up front, then you're getting the coverage, you're getting all of that. So it works for them, right? For branding and so forth.
Yeah, I want to do some more research on that. I'm interested in where, because I just feel if you're in the back, if you're the last place when it comes to points,
hard to get
every year, it's almost impossible for you to get to the front unless you get a big donor.
Well, that's why they came in with the cap. Part of the reason, because the more prominent teams back in the day, Ferrari, McLaren, Williams back then, like the short I did, I said Williams at the time to differentiate the Williams of the past to Williams now. right? So those teams had huge budgets. They were getting that constructors money, but they also had money that they're getting from their sponsors, and they were able to attract really lucrative companies that wanted to, have their names on their cars. Minardi, which was a team that Fernando came into the F1 with, that was called a back marker. They were like last. Nobody wanted to advertise with them or sponsor with them because the car never gets seen. They don't win. They're always in the back. So it was harder for them. So that's why they brought in the cost cap to try to help those teams at the back that you can now compete with the big boys.
Which is a good segue into F1's announcement of GM and Cadillac being part of the grid in 2026. So I'm wondering what kind of finances they're going to come with and how that's going to affect the overall, not only the overall grid, but the overall Constructors championship as well, right?
Well, that's also been part of the reason why the existing teams on the grid have all kind of fought against adding another team, because that also has to now be reshuffled because you're adding another team. And they're like, no, that's our money. we don't want to give that up.
So now you have 22 cars on the grid.
Right.
Now I see why there's extra grid spaces. I always wondered why there was extra grid spaces on those tracks.
Well, we'll see if it goes through. We'll see. I know they want that because they now have 3 races in the U.S. and the U.S. is a big market, especially after Drive to Survive, which is what helped create that demand here. So you want, Haas is there, but it would be nice to have another U.S.-based team.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, I think, in overall success of American drivers getting into Formula One as well, right? Having an American team here, you can do your development team is here. Right. You don't have to go to Europe and live there if you're a part of the Cadillac and GM development team. I think it's going to create gateways and opportunities that we never had before. Right. If it goes through. I'm not quite sure why it hasn't really panned out for Haas in that sense. But it should be opportunities there for American drivers to be more prominent and more successful, I think, in Formula One. So I think it's a great thing, and I hope Andretti and his team are successful in making it.
I think so.
Ray, you don't have any comments on Cadillac and GM?
Well, if they're serious, they'll go for the win, right? Because remember now, Corvette dominated Le Mans multiple years in their class, right? And when there's a factory-back team. So we have the ability to do it. It's just if they're going to put the money behind it for them to go after it. You know what I'm saying?
And like I just said, cool, okay, going after it. I wouldn't expect to see them winning anything for the first 4 years, if anything. Because, like I said, they have to build that infrastructure, right? So they're going to come in with the engine. They have to make sure the engine is reliable. It's powerful enough. It's efficient. All those things they have to work on. They have to build their chassis, make sure that aerodynamically it's good. They have to learn so much. The learning curve is so steep in F1 that it's going to take a while. And that's why you see these teams. Look at McLaren. People weren't talking about McLaren a couple of years ago. They were still trying to rebuild. But now here they are. It takes time in F1. So.
Yeah.
Even with the Andretti family with so much Indy 500 experience, you think it's going to come? It's going to take them a while.
Different race.
I get it. I just thought maybe 75% to 80% of that chassis, that engine, or that racing would translate.
You know how they narrow it down? That when teams come in, they'll come in and they'll say they're going to build their chassis, but maybe they're going to get their engine from Mercedes, or they're going to get it from Ferrari. So then it becomes a point of integrating that. Once you know that, you're going to build the chassis to accept that engine, right? But at least the engine's good, right? You know the engine can perform based on the factory team. And gone are the times where back in the 90s, the 80s, so forth, where you'd get an engine from Ferrari, but you wouldn't be getting the current Ferrari engine. You'd have gotten the engine from the year
Last
before.
year. Yeah.
Right. You know, so you wouldn't have all the updates. So that's what I'm saying, is that the learning curve is steep, and that's how Red Bull became successful. They poached people from Mercedes, so that they knew when they brought them in, these people knew how to hit the ground running and say, no, we need it this way, we need that, we need this, we need this. So it's going to take time. You know, it's going to take a lot of time.
With that being said, I think there's a lot of nuances for next week's race.
Yes.
You guys have any predictions for Qatar? Ray, we'll start with you. What's your predictions for Qatar at this point? Who do you think is going to? And you could do it driver or manufacturer if you want.
Yeah, so I'll say this before you put the end on. I want to just tip in and just say, remember Honda was chasing the same thing for all these years.
Yes.
Right? Honda was in F1 before, so
yes.
We'll see. But the other thing that need to be considered is that they're not even calling it engine now. They're calling the ICE is new for 2026. So it might be that they might be not as far behind. All right. In saying so, flipping back to your original question, Simon, I think we're going to have it's going to be a Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari.
You still think Red Bull is going to have the motivation to win going forward?
Oh,
more now than ever. More
now than ever. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Because he really, they still have the constructors to fight for, right? And he has one less on his shoulder now. You already know he got his driver's championship, so now he's going to go after it. You know what I'm saying?
He'll play loose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I say Max, it's going to be a Ferrari. Seeing how Charles was so upset that Carlos got the third place, I think it's going to be Carlos and then Charles. I think McLaren's gone to sleep again. I don't know, but I could be wrong. I say it's going to be Max, Carlos, and Charles.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think McLaren screwed themselves over with the competition internally that they didn't handle early enough. Right. So right now there's a little bitterness in the house. But anyway, I want to go with you in your Red Bull. I want to go with Ferrari next week. I do. It's going to be hot. It's going to be in the high 70s and the 80s. So I think Mercedes is out. So I'm going to say Ferrari, Red Bull, and then McLaren. I still think Lando wants to prove something in these last two races, and kind of set the tone for next season. I think the opposite, Ray. I think now that Verstappen's won his fourth, he got the points. Unless Sergio has a good qualifying, right? They're stuck in that little rut as far as Constructors Championship. He can't do it by himself. He needs Sergio, and I think he's just gonna, maybe come in top 3, but that's it.
Well, he's going for the win, straight up. He doesn't care. He just wants to win. So the constructor is a constructor, but he'll be up there fighting for a win. He's not going to be dialing it back. And
Red Bull is.
I think he's going to Maxwell. I think now, he'll even dial it up more because there's not as much on the line.
Yeah, Red Bull is currently in third, and Ferrari is second. McLaren is in first place.
Mm-hmm.
I think Red Bull will stay there unless both Mercedes start finishing high up the order again. But they're not gonna. I'm watching the battle between McLaren and Ferrari to see who gets the constructors title. That's it.
Yeah, and I think if Lewis is second and Leclerc is third, or Seiss is third, he's going to let them pass so he can get those constructors points for next year.
Help him next year.
Yo, go ahead, man. I don't think, it's all right. Go ahead. But anyway, thanks for everyone. Thanks for joining us this weekend. We really appreciate it. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel.